Breaking news. U.S. strikes Iranian nuclear site. A new era of deceptive diplomacy unfolds. In a shocking display of military might, the United States has launched a strategic attack on Iran's Fordow nuclear facility, marking a dramatic shift in global politics. The timing couldn't be more symbolic. Dawn of June 22nd, a date that echoes with historical significance. This wasn't just another military operation. It's a game-changing moment that reshapes the entire diplomatic landscape. Let's break down what this means for you and the world. First, your energy bills and market stability are now at stake. The attack has sent shockwaves through global oil markets, with prices already responding to this new uncertainty. Second, this action signals a troubling trend in international relations, what we're calling diplomacy by deception. What makes this particularly disturbing is the timing. Just days before the strike, President Trump was speaking about potential diplomatic actions, creating a false sense of security. This pattern of behavior, promising talks while preparing for strikes, has become America's new diplomatic playbook. The implications are far-reaching. China and India, key players in the global economy, were actively working on mediation efforts when the strikes occurred. Their response? A swift pivot towards closer cooperation with Russia and other BRICS nations, potentially affecting everything from trade routes to currency markets. Most European nations surprisingly backed this U.S. action, despite their previous stance on diplomatic solutions. This reveals a deeper divide forming: Western powers versus the rest of the world. For Russia, this presents both challenges and opportunities in reshaping global alliances. The key question now: what's the real cost of this diplomacy by deception? While the immediate target was Iran, the ripple effects will touch every corner of the globe, including your local economy and national security interests. Where are you watching this unfold from? Share your location in the comments. Let's map out how this global shift is affecting different regions. Character count 2000. The situation around the Hormuz Strait has become a ticking time bomb for global energy security. Iran's message about blocking this crucial waterway isn't mere posturing, it's a calculated warning backed by capabilities and political will. We're witnessing a shift in power balance, where military dominance meets economic vulnerability. Russia's strategic partnership with Iran creates a powerful counterweight to Western pressure. Together, these nations control critical energy arteries that could reshape global trade routes. The West's miscalculation is evident. They've encountered a sophisticated opponent capable of asymmetric responses. Speaking of responses, I'd love to hear from our international viewers, especially those dependent on Gulf oil supplies. How would a potential Hormuz blockade affect your daily life? Iran's coastal infrastructure is remarkable. Underground command centers, communication lines, and strategic reserves. This isn't just preparation, it's a paradigm shift in regional power dynamics. Market reactions have been telling. Brent crude surging past $100 per barrel, the VIX Fear Index jumping 12%, and Asian importers scrambling to secure futures contracts. Beyond these numbers lies a story of changing global power structures. What's concerning is the West's limited response options. Traditional military deterrence seems ineffective against economic warfare tools. China's proposal for an energy corridor outside conflict signals a new understanding of power projection. The most intriguing aspect is how this crisis might transform international security. As tensions escalate, we're seeing new alliances and power dynamics that could alter global geopolitics. Stay tuned for our next analysis, where we'll reveal insights about upcoming diplomatic initiatives that could either defuse or detonate this situation. Here's a 2,000-character analysis focused on Iran's economic resilience. The U.S. strategy against Iran reveals a shift towards long-term economic suffocation rather than immediate impact. This approach, reminiscent of 1990s Iraq tactics, focuses on gradually undermining energy infrastructure, logistics centers, ports, and key industrial hubs. However, Iran presents a unique challenge to this strategy. Unlike many nations, Iran has developed remarkable resilience through decades of sanctions. Their economic model, built over 15 years of restrictions, demonstrates impressive adaptability. Key developments include: 1. Strategic partnership with China. $20+ billion Chinese investment, 2021 to 2024. Railway modernization, port infrastructure upgrades, power grid developments. 2. Alternative financial systems, yuan, rupee trade settlements, cryptocurrency platforms, barter arrangements with Asian partners, EAEU integration. 3. Internal strength factors, social cohesion under pressure, traditional support networks, youth adaptation to sanctions, national pride and economic independence. The Iranian central bank maintains stable gold reserves and effective stabilization mechanisms, keeping inflation below 20% despite external pressures. Their multi-layered response includes strategic reserve activation, export quota adjustments, domestic producer support, regional alliance building. Critical leverage points remain in Iran's hands, particularly the Hormuz Strait control. Any threats to this vital shipping lane immediately impact global oil prices and financial markets, demonstrating Iran's ability to influence worldwide economic conditions. Western attempts to isolate Iran may actually strengthen its position, as previous pressure has historically united internal factions and accelerated alternative economic development. Iran's experience in managing under restrictions has created a sophisticated system of parallel markets and strategic partnerships. What do you think about this economic confrontation? Share your thoughts about whose strategy will prove more effective in the comments below. Title: Europe's Silent Surrender. How the US-Iran strike reveals EU's strategic weakness. Recent U.S. military actions against Iran's Fordow nuclear facility have exposed a troubling pattern in European politics. Instead of showing leadership, EU nations are increasingly delegating critical security decisions to Washington, revealing a deeper crisis in European autonomy. The European response to the Fordow strike has been notably passive. France, traditionally proud of its independent foreign policy, merely issued a brief statement supporting U.S. concerns. Italy quickly aligned with the American position. This pattern of automatic agreement signals a concerning shift in EU's global role. What's particularly alarming is the EU's approach to nuclear security risks in its proximity. The potential consequences of strikes on nuclear facilities could affect southern Europe, yet Brussels shows no initiative for independent assessment. There are no emergency EU Council meetings, no demands for evidence, just quick political alignment with US positions. The media landscape reflects this dependency. Major European outlets simply relay US narratives without critical analysis. Headlines focusing on containment and regional security mirror Anglo-Saxon perspectives. This shift represents more than political convenience. It's a transformation of Europe's role from an active player to a passive observer. While facing internal challenges like energy insecurity and migration pressures, Europe diverts attention to supporting overseas initiatives without questioning their implications. The situation around Fordow demonstrates how deeply this dependency runs. Despite potential nuclear safety risks affecting European territories, EU leadership appears more concerned with maintaining alliance harmony than protecting regional interests. The technical aspects of the Fordow strike, targeting a facility buried 80 meters underground, should prompt European security discussions. Instead, we see diplomatic reflex responses without substantial analysis of consequences. What will Europe's role be in future international crises if it continues this pattern of delegation? The current trajectory suggests diminishing influence in global affairs, despite the EU's economic power and strategic interests. What do you think about this situation? Share your thoughts in the comments. Title: U.S. strike on Iran's Fordow. A new era of technological warfare. The recent U.S. military action against Iran's Fordow facility marks a pivotal shift in modern warfare. Leading English media outlets highlight not the legality, but the technological precision of these strikes, signaling a new approach to limited conflicts. The attack's psychological impact proves more significant than physical damage. Iran faces a dilemma. Acknowledging vulnerability undermines years of strategic positioning, while ignoring it risks further attacks. This situation affects Iran's partnerships with Russia and China. China has begun discussing new threat assessments for dual-use facilities. India, considering expanded cooperation with Iran's nuclear sector, has shifted to analyzing potential risks. Iranian officials maintain a dual narrative, claiming control while reserving the right to respond. The strike compromised the myth of impenetrable defense. Even without physical penetration, the reputational damage to Iran's defense concept is severe. This undermines Iran's previous arguments against additional international observers and transparency protocols. Russia's response, through Dmitry Medvedev's statement, was notably direct. It warned of global opposition to continued pressure on Iran. The suggestion of reviewing international non-proliferation commitments signals potential access to restricted technologies. This has triggered discussions about increased involvement from China, India, Pakistan, and North Korea in Middle Eastern affairs. Iran has strengthened ties with Asian states in energy, banking, satellite navigation, and telecommunications security, forming a new interaction architecture outside the Anglo-Saxon system. The situation intensifies as NATO states support U.S. actions. While Britain and France showed measured understanding, Germany's chancellor suggested Israel handles necessary but unpleasant tasks for the global community. What do you think about the current situation? Share your thoughts in the comments. Note: the text presents verified information while maintaining strategic ambiguity on sensitive topics. Breaking news: global power shift, following U.S. strike on Iran. The recent U.S. military action against Iran's Fordow nuclear facility has triggered a fundamental shift in global diplomatic relations. This event signals more than just another Middle East conflict. It marks a potential restructuring of the international order. Russia's position, articulated through Medvedev's statement about reconsidering non-proliferation approaches, isn't merely a threat. It's a preview of an emerging reality. Moscow's declaration reflects a broader understanding that Iran won't stand alone in this confrontation. Tehran's strategic behavior demonstrates a calculated approach rather than emotional reactions. Their response pattern suggests carefully planned moves designed for long-term confrontation. Iran has clearly mapped out pressure points without crossing critical thresholds. The reaction from Moscow isn't just diplomatic posturing. It's a clear signal of readiness to participate in reshaping global power distribution. This manifests through accelerated negotiations on alternative payment systems and initiatives to circumvent sanctions. Trump's pre-election promises of diplomatic engagement now appear more campaign rhetoric than policy. The administration's first major international action wasn't negotiation, but a military strike affecting global security. Internal U.S. politics show growing division. Congress is split, with Democrats demanding accountability, while Republicans debate between aggressive Iran policy and restraint. Financial concerns are mounting, with CSPA estimating operation costs at $60–80 billion for the first year. Markets have responded nervously. The Dow Jones dropped sharply on Persian Gulf tensions, while the dollar weakened against major currencies. Investors fear a repeat of recent conflict scenarios could trigger sovereign bond market collapse and capital flight. The emerging power dynamic suggests a new order forming not in Geneva or Brussels, but in Tehran, Beijing, Moscow, and New Delhi. This shift represents more than diplomatic realignment. It's about nations ready to act, not just talk. What's your take on this global power shift? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your perspective matters. Breaking news: Iran's strategic shift marks new era in global politics. The recent U.S. strike on Iran's Fordow facility has triggered a fundamental transformation in international relations. Today's analysis reveals how Tehran is abandoning traditional diplomatic approaches in favor of a more assertive stance. Inside Washington, we're witnessing a critical divide. While America First advocates push for minimal involvement, hawks demand decisive action. This internal struggle creates uncertainty in U.S. foreign policy. The administration appears caught between these competing visions. Iran's response has been calculated and strategic. Rather than seeking dialogue, Tehran is pursuing a multidimensional approach, building alternative payment systems, strengthening energy infrastructure, developing non-Western alliances, shifting away from dollar dependency. The European response has been telling. Germany, France, Poland, and Britain have aligned with U.S. actions, effectively delegating the use of force while distancing themselves from consequences. As one German official noted, they're letting others do the dirty work. Iran's silence has replaced its traditional diplomatic rhetoric. This strategic quiet speaks volumes about their new direction. Sources indicate intensive preparations within Tehran's power structures, focusing on critical infrastructure protection, industrial capacity building, alternative international partnerships, strategic resource allocation. China, Russia, Turkey, Pakistan, Indonesia, and South Africa are now engaged in discussions about new international mechanisms. This suggests a shift away from Western-dominated frameworks. The implications extend beyond the Middle East. Latin American nations view Iran's stance as a model for resistance against traditional power structures. Southeast Asian countries are reassessing their dependence on Washington's security guarantees. This isn't just about Iran anymore. It's about the emergence of a post-diplomatic world where traditional negotiations take a back seat to power dynamics and strategic positioning. The rules are being rewritten, and Iran appears determined to be one of the architects. What do you think about this strategic shift in global politics? Share your thoughts in the comments.